Hi, my name is Victor Conde. I'm formerly a professor of international human rights and humanitarian law. That's the law of armed conflict. Also well-versed in international criminal law. I'm going to make a presentation on Putin's international crimes in the Ukraine since the invasion of February 2022. The reason I'm doing this is because most of the people that see images on the TV or read reports react by saying it looks like there's war crimes committed, and one does not hear of any other kinds of crimes other than war crimes, but war crimes is only one category of crimes that is at play here as far as international crimes. So I want to introduce you to the field of international criminal law, the fact that some people in this universe can be held responsible for acts which are international crimes as opposed to national crimes, and who become enemies of humankind as a result of that. So I'm going to give a presentation on the law of armed conflict primarily, because what's going on in the Ukraine right now is armed conflict. I'd like to start this by basically reading the essay that I've written on 11 pages, single-spaced, and I'm going to give some background of the law of armed conflict, which part of which is called humanitarian law, and to introduce you to some of the sources of international crimes and the categories that I believe Vladimir Putin has committed in the Ukraine conflict since the February invasion. So I'm limiting my talk to that particular time period and geographic location. I think this is very important because, as you'll hear again, these crimes are international crimes, meaning not just because they happen in more than one country, but because the impact of them is considered to be an impact upon all of humankind. Just as in national law, someone commits a crime, it is deemed that that's a crime against the people of, for example, the state of California. So the criminal case would be state of California versus Joe Blow. So the state of California represents the interests of all Californians harmed by criminal activity. Likewise, at the international level, people are held responsible for crimes that are deemed by the international community to harm all of humankind. So they're prohibited. So with that, I'd like to launch into mostly reading of the paper that I wrote, and I know this might be boring, but I'd just like to ask you to bear with me. Maybe you can take off the video and just listen to the sound and follow me along as I go. This is my first YouTube video. I've never done this before. I've been teaching international law, human rights, humanitarian law, and international criminal law since about 1989. And so I've got a lot of years of doing this, but still doing a YouTube presentation is a whole different ball of wax. So please forgive me, and please bear with me in those times when I may have to stop and get up and take care of some other things as I'm going along. This may take several hours, so I hope you'll bear with me. Now, I'm only going to be talking about the crimes that I think were committed, the international crimes, and basically there's 4 different types of crimes. I'm not going to be dealing about where, what forum, what court, what body could prosecute Putin if that were possible. And of course, the talk now is, will Putin ever be prosecuted for things that he ordered done or knew was going on and did not suppress? So I'm not going to talk about how he's going to get prosecuted where, but only what crimes I think that he has committed and what are the elements of those crimes, the different predicate acts of those crimes, so you can get an idea of this field of international law. I would just like to say before I take a short break that in the Geneva Conventions of 1949, which the United States and Russia are both parties, it says that the high contracting parties undertake in time of peace and in time of war to disseminate the text of the present convention, that's the Geneva Convention, as widely as possible in their respective countries, and in particular to include the study thereof in their programs of military and, if possible, civil instruction, so that the principles thereof, of these Geneva Conventions, may become known to the entire population. Now, this is Article 144 of the Geneva Convention, and no one that I know of has been receiving instructions in the basic principles of the law of armed conflict or the Geneva Conventions other than people in the military, and how much they get I really can't say. But this says that because we're a contracting party to the Geneva Conventions, the United States, we have an obligation to inform our civilian population of the basic principles of humanitarian law in order that they may know what their own country should be doing or not be doing when it engages in armed conflict, not necessarily just when someone else, somewhere else, is violating these international norms. So after this, you will be informed, you'll know what they are, and you can ask your country why it's not teaching the people these basic principles. Actually, you're going to be hearing, as well as the description of the 4 kinds of crimes, you're going to be hearing the basic principles of the law of armed conflict, humanitarian law, and the basic rules of the law of armed conflict. So some of these rules will be found in prohibited in the texts of the international crimes, which are written down and which have substance, and which we will read and let you hear so that you can see what kinds of acts are considered part of particular crimes, for example, genocide. So I'm going to take a couple of minute break and make sure that my camera is working, that I'm being recorded, that I don't look too stupid. But anyway, bear with me. I'll take these breaks periodically as necessary, because this will take a few hours. Thank you. Hang on.